Aloha, this is Hope Johnson with Wisdom Dialogues. Thank you for joining today. It's such a blessing to be with you over the internet, or if you're just watching this later on. Such a blessing. So if anyone has any questions to start out, please let me know. Otherwise, I have some questions written down here. I can start to go over those. Then anytime you would like to dialogue with me about anything, just raise your hand and be so happy to have communication with you. Lovely. So let's look at what we have here. Okay, if it's all an illusion, why does it feel so real? Feeling is basically a subtle form of thought. When a thought's been repeatedly believed over and over again, it's like there's a deep groove in the mind. There's an attraction of the energy body to that thought. That particular thought will arise. Like, I'll give you an example. Say a thought that says, I need to make money in order to live on this earth. That's one that's practiced by a lot of people, and it's one that has been practiced for quite a while in the illusion of time. So basically, as this is practiced, the impression of it develops. It's sort of like deeper and deeper grooves in the mind. Okay, I say sort of like because it's not something that you can really describe and hand over like a concept. It's more like something that you just start to see. We see this. So it's a build up. It's like a build up of impressions, and those make a feeling. So it seems like these thoughts mean something. There's certain thoughts that are really attractive to most people, and then there's some thoughts that are just attractive to certain people and not everyone. And it's just a matter of what your energy body, what's been practiced through this energy body, what's been repeatedly practiced, okay? So that will make it feel very real. And when it's feeling very real like that, it's a little bit more of a challenge to just let the feelings ride out, because it seems like the thoughts are so important. It seems like we need to follow these thoughts, otherwise something really bad is going to happen. It's as if we can sacrifice this moment and actually get something that we want. You see, that's the thing. We can't get anything that we are really after by sacrificing the moment, and that's the whole thing. So it feels so real to be enticing. It could be called a temptation, and it's always just in this instant. There's not if there's not a pull towards something, then it doesn't even matter. I mean, some thoughts arise and they don't even mean anything. It's just like, oh, well, yeah, right. But other thoughts arise and it's like we're hooked. It's like, oh, this means something about me. And it never really does. It's just that we've given it that kind of power, and that's what makes it feel real. Okay? And here's another thing. Here's another one. When something that seems important is lost, why do I lose sight of peace and feel frantic while I'm looking for it? I just am stoked with this one. This is so much fun. Because I noticed that, when something gets lost, like say the key to the car got lost, and all of a sudden nothing else is important except finding that key. It's the only thing that's important. And it seems as if we really need to find that key, like we really need that key to manifest. And it's like we don't know. There's no way we can possibly know what we need. It could very much be that we need the lost key. In fact, if the key is lost, that's exactly what we need. Let's put it that way. And if it gets found, then that's exactly what we need too. So when you say, why does this happen? Well, everything is symbolic, okay? But everything that happens on the surface, it's a symbol. So this frantic search, it's like a symbol for us trying to get back to what we think we lost. See? And you see how when it's found, if it's found on the surface, there's this temporary sense of relief. As if something really good just happened. And it could be said that everything that happens is good because everything that happens is for our awakening, you could say. Our return to the place we never left. It's just a matter of seeing through the illusion. So, when something seems lost or misplaced or it's just not manifesting right now, it's entirely possible to use that. It can totally be used for healing, or awakening is another way to put it. It could totally be used for just feeling whatever is arising in the moment. Even as our bodies are motivated to look for the key. Our bodies are already motivated through consciousness to look for it. You don't have to do anything for that. Or maybe they're not being motivated to. It doesn't matter either way. It's just, are we allowing whatever experience is arising to open us up? Is there a surrender? Or is there chasing after something as if that could bring back peace? It's true, there's a temporary sense of relief that happens, apparently. But if finding that physical key is made important as if it can bring peace, then that's a setup for more of the same. More seeking and pretending to find. Because all seeking on the surface leads to nothing. It all leads to nothing at all. It's only for fun. It's like entertainment. Here's another one. Thank you, Ron. That's lovely. Can we manifest on purpose? Well, that's a little bit of a loaded one because manifestation is quite a bit different than the way the mind conceives it. Let's put it that way. Through consciousness. When the mind's looking through consciousness as an individual, the perceiving of it is can we manifest on purpose? Kind of like, can we get what we think we want? Yeah. The universe is manifesting everything. It's one manifestation. It's not an individual manifestation. And it's always manifesting the balance of all the feelings that have added up to this moment. So it's like, in a sense, yes, we can manifest on purpose if the feeling is allowed. If the feeling is allowed. And the feeling is allowed when there's no attachment to exactly what manifests on the surface. See? It's like just a total surrender to whatever it is that manifests on the surface. Not really mattering, not making it matter what it is. But when we're attached to what manifests on the surface, what's being manifested through us is actually confusion. So if we say it needs to be like this, there's a feeling. There's a feeling that's arising that's saying, no, I don't want its opposite. Okay? So whenever there's an attachment to something specific being manifested, there's always an underlying feeling of no. And that underlying feeling of no manifests the confusion. Because it's no, I don't want. It's no, I don't want. See? Let's put this into the context of a situation, okay? I was talking with a lovely young woman yesterday, and she was, this actually goes into the next one, she was wondering why she felt uneasy or jealous when her husband is being sexual with other women, or her boyfriend maybe. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. And, you know, you see, it's like when you want something to manifest on the surface, the opposite, when the opposite is seen, it just creates all these feelings. Jealousy, uneasiness, don't want this, whatever. And, you know, she didn't even want her partner to be faithful or to her or anything. What she wanted was no jealousy and no uneasiness. See? Say no to that. No to those things. So in that saying no to it, when a sensation of jealousy comes up and the sensation of uneasiness that comes up, there's resistance to it. That's all. Jealousy can come up and it be no problem. But when there's resistance to it, it seems like a problem. Why can't I just be at peace with this? Because you don't want it. There's nothing that needs there's nothing that needs to not be wanted. And let's not even say you don't want it, because, you know, really, you don't do anything. You don't want or not want or any of that kind of stuff. The wanting and not wanting is coming from the subconscious mind, and what's happening is we take it to be about us, as if this means something. Okay? So as if this jealous feeling means that I should be more of something else. Okay? And then come to find out that underneath the jealous feeling that's not wanted, the polyamorous thing was only something that was a belief that's how we should be. And even though that belief didn't feel good, it was a belief that that's how it should be. And it's not that it should be anyway. How could the mind know how anyone should be? So how can we manifest more of what we want to experience? Right now, in this instance, let everything be okay. Let it just be okay. If jealousy is arising, if uneasiness arising, if thoughts are arising to say that something is not okay, that I'm not good enough, that other people aren't good enough, whatever's arising, let it just be okay. It's just commentary. It's just commentary coupled with the feeling that commentary produces. That's all it is. It's like a virtual experience. Okay? It's like a movie theater in 5D, but even more, even seeming even more real. That's all. And why can't I just be at peace with it? Well, that's trying to make something happen. There's peace with the non-peace. And that's really where we're all coming from. That's where we're all aware of what's arising from that space, where there's peace with non-peace. Because non-peace is just like a cloud. It's not really relevant. It doesn't say anything about us. It doesn't speak about us or to us. We just take it that way. So the more there's willingness to see that this is all just arising and passing, the more peace is manifested. And the more the surface manifestations appear peaceful, appear to be what we want. Wow, that seems to be getting what I want again. And when it seems to be when it seems to be not getting what I want, and I know it's what I really want, it presents itself that way too. It's amazing. It's amazing. So there's no need to do anything. In fact, there's no one to do anything. That's what's awesome. There's no one to do anything. All right. I have gone through all those questions so quickly. That just came so quickly. I can look at something else. I mean, it seems like I've done a couple posts. Thank you, Susanna. I love you. I've done a couple posts that have raised some emotions for people, so that's fun. Definitely like to address that kind of stuff. And anyone who would like to talk with me about that, please raise your hand. That would be really fun. Yeah. Let's see what I have here. Oh, this one really raised some, what do they call? Shane. I love you, Shane. Aw, you sweetheart. We can talk about that post. Hooray! You guys ready? All right. How fun. Aloha.
Aloha.
Hooray! I'm so happy that you two are on.
Me too.
What a fun day. So
Donna
yeah.
hasn't seen the post yet, so if you want to talk about what the post was and
oh, okay. Okay, fun.
feelings that it raised.
I think that this one, okay, this is the one, yes, this is the one. Here's the post. Not all men need sexual connections with more than one woman, but the women who practice believing that they do are made to experience the effects of that belief. Hooray! So, Susanna, when you hear that, what comes up for you?
I'm wondering if you assume that because we're polyamorous, if I believe that all men need to experience being with multiple women, is that the assumption? Or
maybe that's an assumption that maybe that's an assumption.
Okay.
Maybe that's an assumption that the post means that the opposite. That if you that you think that, I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Maybe it's that it means that that it looks like there's some kind of an assumption being made, like if somebody does want to have that kind of experience, then it means that they think that all men are like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess it sounded like an assumption to me about that, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So that is what's interesting. And probably, by the way, I said that they are made to experience the effects of the belief. Is that right? Is that where it is?
I don't know. I don't know. But
yeah. It's interesting because what I see coming up is a lot of defensiveness about that. And also sort of like relief for people that think that their way of monogamy is the correct way, and then sort of like defensiveness coming up for people who have the polyamory going. And I didn't know if you guys are polyamorous or not, actually.
Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag now. Why don't you read what I wrote?
It doesn't matter one bit.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Why don't you read what I commented, though?
What's that?
Why don't you read what I commented?
Okay. So you commented, the story I write includes multiple loves expanding my love. I am so full of love sometimes, I feel like I can explode. Innocent and pure, deep and passionate. Ah, I am so in love. Hang on just a second. What's up, Brian? I'll get that in a little while because I'm doing wisdom dialogues right now. I don't know where it is at the moment. So, okay. The story I write includes multiple loves, expanding my love. I am so full of love sometimes, I feel like I can explode. Innocent and pure, deep and passionate. Ah, I am so in love. I love that. I feel that. Thank you. And what does that have to do with polyamory?
I'm not sure. I don't even really. I'm not sure I really even agree with labeling it as polyamory because a lot of people have assumptions about what polyamory is, especially people that aren't involved in polyamory. They just tend to assume a lot of things, and not everyone. You know, I just hear it from time to time.
Okay, cool. All right. So what you're saying there, that doesn't have anything to do with polyamory, really. I mean, you could be celibate and still be like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you could be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know that's the thing, and it's like that's what was interesting. That's what was interesting to me is that when there's sort of like a defensiveness that goes up because there's an idea about what other people think. You know, there's an idea. Well, especially when you're delving into something where there is a lot of judgment about it. Okay, so then with that idea where of what someone else is thinking, it's like there's these goggles on. It's like there's these goggles on, you know, and it's like then it'll be perceived as if there's judgment. In fact, every time there's judgment, there seems to be judgment on the surface about the way we live our lives. It always has to do with a conversation between ourselves. Really, that's what's going on. Yeah. So that's always what's happening. And actually, go ahead.
It used to be a lot worse for us. I used to feel really guilty about it, ashamed about it, when it was less innocent and when it was less pure. But now I feel much better, and it's funny that you say that because now I receive hardly any judgment at all from from even family members now.
Yeah, so you see how it's all a reflection.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, so that was definitely interesting, especially in my experience, because it's like the whole energy of it is just whatever it is, but I see how it could be taken as, but this is not, this is like against polyamory, but it doesn't mean anything like that at all. In fact, the young woman I was speaking with realized that she had been practicing a belief that said polyamory is the way we're supposed to be, and she wasn't really in alignment with that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was, and it was super fun for her. She started laughing.
Huh.
She started laughing her butt off. I go, you just made that up, though, that polyamory is the way we're supposed to be. Do you really want to be polyamorous? And she sat there, and then she just started laughing.
So what did she conclude?
There's no conclusion to come to. I mean, as far as, when I'm talking with someone like that, it's just all it is a matter of seeing through the beliefs. Whatever happens on the surface happens on the surface. And what you said about not labeling it, that's beautiful, because not labeling it, you're just there in the moment, whatever it is. And,
right.
and that includes an openness and allowing for those preferences to change even. Like, it doesn't matter.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, like Tony says, people ask him, are you a vegetarian? And he's like, yeah, whenever I'm not eating meat, I am. He's like that. So it's kind of like the same thing with polyamorous. Are you polyamorous? And yeah, whenever I'm not monogamous. It's all the same, really. That's so funny. But yeah, I do see that really came from, experiencing someone that was just kind of like in an energy that, and this could apply to anything, it doesn't have to do with that, just in an energy that they're, feeling confused and stuff, and then you see, oh, there's a belief in there that this is how I should be. And that'll always do that. Yeah. So, yeah. That probably covers it. Unless, do you two feel complete on that one?
Oh yeah, I feel complete. Yeah.
You're awesome. Wonderful. Okay, I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna go on to another. What are they, callers? No, they're not callers. They're onliners. I'm gonna go to another onliner. I love you both. Thank you so much. Mwah. Mwah. Bob.
Oh, hi. Yeah, so I had I had a little question about what you were just talking about. So you say women are made to experience the effects of these beliefs about polyamory or multiple partners. So the belief for men and women are different. If a man has multiple partners, they're virile. If a woman has multiple partners, she's a slut. So I wonder if, there's different effects of the beliefs for men and women.
Well, the effect of belief is always suffering. Let's just put it that way. Whether
right.
It's positive or negative.
Yeah, well, that's what that segues into the topic I really want to discuss.
How fun.
This guilt aspect again.
Okay.
So, because the Course in Miracles says the guiltless mind cannot suffer.
Yes.
And that guilt is punishment. So it seems to me that the whole crux of the problem is going to this guilt issue.
Yes, and that's what the defensiveness is about too. It's like there's this underlying guilt, and and that's why people are moved to comment and put their side of the story and stuff like that. It's all stories, and there's absolutely nothing nothing to be guilty about, but we're going to feel the effects of guilt when there's a belief, an unconscious belief, and that's why it's always an opportunity. It's not as if anyone is doing anything wrong or anything like that. It's always an opportunity when that guilty feeling rears its head, you know. Just needing to tell our side of the story. It's like, oh, I got to tell my side of the story on this one. You know, and it's like, and it still doesn't matter what you do. It's all an energy. It's all just this energy.
Yeah, so if you're in guilt, you're not in love. And then,
guilt is arising. Guilt is also arising in love too. And see, here's another twist to it, Bob. When you're in guilt, it's not. It's more like guilt is arising within love. So guilt is also welcome. You see that?
Yeah, that's just it. If you welcome it with love instead of thinking just like the woman who thought she should be polyamorous, you know, that she doesn't have to have that belief. It can be she can welcome her through preference.
See, and then whatever it is that the heart is truly calling for in the experience, then that's being allowed, whatever it is. So we don't need to change our belief to even to some guys don't. It's like all guys are manifested through us as women, and other women, whatever. But anyone, let's just say sex not included, everyone that comes into our experience is manifested from our own subconscious mind. So, you know, it could also be said that it's true that there's no guys out there that want one woman, like from your perspective, if you're practicing that belief. You know, it's sort of like putting blinders on and then only seeing that which matches the belief. But the guilt thing, it doesn't have to be fought with one bit, because, you know, it is arising in the space of love. So the guilt can just be allowed to be guilt and allowed to feel like it feels, and then it'll take care of itself. That's what allows consciousness to see.
That's just it. It's embracing everything that comes up with that love that you're talking about.
Yes, it is. Excuse me. It is arising within that love, and there's no one even there to have to do any kind of embracing. The embracing just happens spontaneously when it's just seen. It's seen that it's arising in love, and it doesn't mean anything about anyone. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to share this this couple of sentences from this Joel Goldsmith talk, if I may.
Great. A couple sentences? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so he says in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not do this or that. Why are these sins? What is there sinful about stealing, about lying, or committing adultery? And he asks, anyone have an answer to that? And someone says, believing in a separate selfhood apart from God. And he says, yes, that's the only sin there is. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with sex relations or anything to do with taking someone else's life. None of those things constitute the sin. Those are the effects of the sin. The sin is accepting selfhood apart from God, or an activity apart from God. That's the whole sin. That's the whole sin there is in life. That's the only sin that the Master recognized in his first and second great commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods, no other power. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. How can you steal from your neighbor without stealing from yourself? How can you kill your neighbor without killing yourself if there is only one self?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
and there's no one guilty for that sin.
Right. Because it never happened, I guess, huh?
It never even happened. We're dreaming it up.
But that's the illusion, though, that we buy into. that it did happen, and it could happen, that we could somehow separate from oneness, the one self, into these divisive selves that become in conflict and violence and kill each other and violate each other, and all these other 10 commandments, that he's saying that this is the ultimate sin, this separate selfhood apart from the one self.
Yeah. And Susanna said, "Genius, Bob."
Oh, thank you, thank you. So yeah, and then, you know, I had discussed this section from The Disappearance of the Universe,
Mm-hmm.
and where he talks about how, you know, we tried to escape from the guilt of God for separating, and that's how we created this universe of separation, that we created all these things outside of ourselves so that we could project this unconscious guilt out there and make Trump and all these other evil figures out there the bad guys, and we're the good guys, we're right and they're wrong. So then, yeah, it's this experience of the separate selfhood that then is in proximity to the divine. So if I may, I'd just like to read a couple sentences about this experience this guy had with a near-death experience,
Okay.
where he had first gone to like the pit of hell, and he didn't know how to get out, and he just remembered as a kid this song, "Yes, Jesus loves me, the Bible tells me so," and so he started crying out to Jesus, and then this divine figure, Jesus, came to him with this intense love, and that Jesus was bringing him to heaven. And so then I'll just read this short paragraph, if I may.
Okay.
And so he says, "As we approached heaven, still a vast distance away, I was permeated with tangible, intense feelings and thoughts of love. While moving toward the presence of the great light, center of all being, the One, I was beyond thought. It is not possible to articulate what occurred. Simply I knew that God loved me, that God loved creation, that God is love.
Yeah.
This experience of love totally changed my life from the inside out. No matter what happened, I would always know that God loved me." And then he says, "I began to be aware of my separate self, and I became very ashamed and afraid. How many times in my life had I denied and scoffed at the reality before me? How many thousands of times had I used the name of God as a curse? What incredible arrogance to use the name of God as an insult. Such a travesty against all that is holy. I was terribly ashamed to go closer. The wonderful, incredible intensity of the emanations of goodness and love might be more than I could bear. I felt like garbage, filthy rags in the presence of the Holy One. My friend carrying me, Jesus, my best friend, was aware of my fear and reluctance and shame. I thought to myself, I am scum that belongs back down in the sewer. They have made a terrible mistake. I don't belong here." And for the first time, he spoke. He spoke directly to my mind in his young male voice. "We don't make mistakes, and you do belong here." So we stopped where we were, still countless light years away from the great supreme being in heaven, and I cried from shame, and he comforted me. So the idea that when you're in your separate selfhood and you come close to the throne of God, to that reality, then you experience the guilt and shame of having committed that original sin of separating yourself from that divine source.
Yes, and that to me is that kind of burning that's actually referenced in the Bible. It's almost like a really productive suffering, when there's that suffering with comfort, that suffering over the guilty illusions that we've made, and also it's like that suffering comes with a comfort at the same time, and it's the burning away of illusions. It's really beautiful.
Right, yeah, so that's what that is, that you burn away that guilt and shame and realize that it was totally unnecessary.
Yes, it's a beautiful fire. It's a beautiful, hot, and lovely, and might I say, orgasmic fire.
There you go. Okay, let's check that. Like you say, love, guilt, and shame, and just and then that burns it away to
Yes.
the nothingness it always was.
Yes. Thank you, Bob. I love you.
Okay, thank you very much. You can go on to the next question.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. I love you. I have a question here from Arena. She wrote in, if you'd like to join me, just raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll just answer your question, Arena. Yay! She raised her hand. Aloha.
Oh, cool. Aloha.
Yay, you're here.
The whole time last week for my first online dialogue, I didn't even know what you meant with raising the hand. I didn't see that icon there. So I'm like, how does she know people are raising their hand? I don't understand.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you worked that out.
Yeah, totally.
So, I could read what you said.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At the last Wisdom Dialogues, we briefly talked about the ego wanting to kill the body. I have experienced semi-regular visions of violence, either toward myself, from myself to another, or from another to me. These visions are usually not even accompanied by an emotion that I am aware of. Ooh, that's awesome. And then the second part of this, the visions are not pleasant, so I often push them away. What's up with this? Oh, this is a huge opportunity. You were with us last week in the in-person Wisdom Dialogues. Did I bring that up last week, or was that a different week?
It was last week. You just spoke briefly about like experience you had but it was after a time you had a lot of emotion around it, and you experienced like a vision of killing someone, and then we talked about the ego killing the body, but it was really brief. We didn't stick on that topic. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So those kinds of visions, that's a super blessing to be able to see those, and even bring them up, because for the most part those are happening unconsciously, and they're pushed away. They're pushed away at a different level, so where it's not even seen that they're actually killing going on underneath the surface. You know what I'm saying? So it's just to be able to see that, that's a huge opportunity. It's like really giving it's really giving it to you, sort of like giving it to you as in hey, look at me, and just to let it be experienced right there in the space of the love that you are, just letting that be embraced. And that's the way. At first I started hearing, I hate my life, I want to die. That's how it happened for me. And when I heard that, I go, wow, that's been playing. As soon as I heard it, I realized it's been playing the whole time. And it just I didn't want to see it. I did not want to see that. I wanted to cover it up, like, oh, life is so flowery and rainbowy, and and consciousness wants to give me whatever I want, and I'm here to manifest love and all this other stuff. And what's going on underneath the surface? And that's the thing, is that it's almost all of it's subconscious. So. Yeah, so it's like when something's presented to you, and you could actually see that this is what it is, and you see the pushing away, and that's huge.
Well, that's huge. Yeah, because I think like, you know, what kind of, I guess I have, though I don't have strong feelings around it, I guess I do have thoughts around it, like, you know, I push it away because I'm like, well, what sort of monstrous like thoughts are those that I would have those visions, you know, so I don't want to be that monster, so I'm just going to, like, distract myself, okay, here's the next thing, and, like, try to forget about it, but it comes back pretty often, actually.
Wonderful. Well, that thought that I don't want this, that's also coming with a feeling. Can you feel
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's scratching the surface. So that's
Mhm.
scratching the surface of it. In my experience, that killing, and I was brutally murdering someone for probably about 8 hours in my mind. Um,
Mm.
and just over and over again. It was amazing, and that was just allowed to come with some extreme feelings, just letting those feelings really just wash over me, and the transformation it's like everything changed. Everything was completely different after that, and so it's like a lot of these things that we chase after on the surface. One of them is what's the right way to be sexually. Like we're chasing after something like that. It's like a distraction.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like all these different little distractions, so we don't have to see the killing. And ultimately, what I found is it, it's us killing, and being killed, and these bodies being killed, and the bodies dying at the end of the perception of life. That's like the ultimate revenge of the ego. You know,
Mm.
like just kill that thing. And then a lot of the times when suffering arises, there's a thought, that, well, it always is there. It's not a matter of whether it's conscious or not, but it always is there. Well, at least there's death. Like when there's suffering
Yeah.
going on, at least there's death. And then you could see why people consider suicide and stuff like that. Some will actually
Definitely.
go along with that thought, and some will just really push it away and just exacerbate the suffering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that for a while in my life. I had suicidal thoughts and pushed, but I never felt like I was actually going to go along with it. But I would like entertain the suffering that would make me consider the suicide.
Uh-huh.
Now I don't really I don't have any feelings of like the suffering that's causing that, but still have the visions of one of my favorite ones is I mean, it's kind of funny when I think about it now,
It
but
is. It is funny.
when I go up, I like snowboarding, so when I go up mountain ski lifts, I'm sitting on the ski lift, I think about jumping off the ski, I visualize myself jumping off the ski lift all the time, like, wow, I could just do that right now, and yeah, it's like I can't even help it but visualize it. But that one, I guess it's easier for me to be allow that one and just be with it and have it be. I even see the comedy in it, but it's harder for me when it's like me perpetrating violence against someone else and another person. And again, I'm seeing that's where this illusion of separation, like the other person really isn't separate from myself. So in the vision of killing them or perpetrating violence against them, then it's not separate. It's still about me too.
Yeah. It's killing yourself, basically. It's just the mind playing out scenes of death, and that's why when it's seen in that space of love, it's so healing, because that goes deep. That really goes deep to see that. Because this underlying wanting to kill, it manifests as conflict. It manifests as different ways of suffering. It manifests as somebody's doing something to me.
Yeah.
I hear from family people that are struggling so much, thinking that their kids are doing something to them by not doing their homework or making a mess or not helping clean up, or their husband or their wife is doing something to them, and it's like that all just another illusion made from that one illusion of separation, and basically that's an underlying feeling of killing. It's under all the distractions, and when the distractions are wiped away and it's just a beautiful awakening. It's like it corrects so much instantly. Yeah.
Mm. All right. Well, I look forward to my next vision of violence.
Yay! Gosh, it's so inspiring talking with you, Arena. That Erin stuck with me 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring talking with you. It's amazing the openness and the willingness to see what's going on and go through it. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Yay. Okay, Susanna said, interesting. I've been experiencing intense fantasies and had great pleasure from murder fantasies. I don't remember pushing them away. Susanna, or is that Shane?
It's
or both.
Anna.
All right. Aloha.
What came up? I was it was a long time ago. More when I was it was when I was being bullied as a child, and yeah. And then I remember when the Columbine shootings happened, and everybody was just like up in arms and scared and all that stuff. And I just remember thinking to myself, that must have felt so fucking good.
Oh, nice. Okay. I know where you're coming from on that, because that happened to me when I was a kid too. I had the same kind of experience, like someone I felt that was so mean to me, and so damaging to me. I would actually have fantasies of killing him, or actually him being killed by someone else. Actually, maybe I didn't want to do it. but yeah, that's the same kind of thing. It's just that it's just in that kind of mindset where there's this need for revenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's this mindset as if that can lead to peace. Yeah, as if that can lead to peace, and then there's like this. Oh yeah, let's do that, and there's a following of it, and either way, whether there's the resisting of it or the pursuing it, let's say that's pursuing it, it's multiplying suffering, because in pursuing it, it's believing that some peace can actually come from that. See? Right. Like any peace can come from it, but really it just multiplies the suffering, because we can't kill anyone. That's not how it works. So yeah, that's a really good point, and I hadn't even thought about that. And thank you for reminding me that that's how it came up in my own experience as well when I was a kid. Mm. But then when it came up later on as an adult for people that I feel really. There's a conflict, because I feel so much love, and I'm even in a situation where I feel that they're my responsibility to take care of them, and to take care of them and keep them safe. And then what am I having these visions of killing them? Right. It's just that same idea that someone can do something to us. Hmm. Yeah, but it multiplies and it just starts showing itself in different ways. Like there can be any kind of relief from that. Mhm. Yeah. Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love you.
Love you.
Alana. Yay, Alana. Aloha, Alana.
Aloha.
Beautiful to talk to you.
I know, you too. I like the new setting. I like the bedroom.
Oh, thank you. I did that because my family's kind of doing a lot of stuff around the house today, and I just took the laptop and came into the bedroom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm right in the middle of the house having wisdom dialogues.
Yeah. I was thinking about, everyone's talking a lot about fantasies, and I haven't been having violent fantasies, but I go through phases of almost living in fantasies. Like, I'd rather just be laying down fantasizing about something. It's kind of a plot line I start, and then I just keep going.
Okay.
Like, I'll go out to eat, and I'll be like, I want to go home and just, like, lay down. And then I lay down, and I just fantasize, and I finish, like, the plot line that I started, and then I'll be in the car, and I'll just be, creating this storyline. And I'm not, when I go through these phases, I get very detached from real life or from people around me.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if I'm just believing, if I'm kind of living in my thought too much, or what do you think about that?
Well, there's nothing that could be said to be too much, okay? That's a really big one right there. So even the thought that arises that says, am I doing this too much? That's also in delusion, because it's saying that that for one, you can do anything. And
oh, sorry. 1 second, Hope. Sorry, the doorbell's ringing. Sorry.
Okay. No worries.
Thank you. Yes.
May you just please sign me
Yeah. Oh, my God. Sorry, room service just got here.
Good. I'm glad you got some food.
Oh, and Pepsi, I'll bring it up right now. I'm really
Okay.
sorry about
No
that.
problem.
Got fries, Pepsi, and pizza.
Great timing.
Thank
I'll be
you.
right back up,
Yeah,
okay?
no problem. Sorry, Hope.
No worries.
Okay.
So see how number one, that thought comes up and says, am I doing this too much?
Mm-hmm.
That's a thought right there.
Right.
Okay. And so it's like, who is that meaningful to? Who is that thought meaningful to? See?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's really where it's at. It's so close. It's so, or let's say it's so much closer, because close isn't even it. It's like so much closer than what the mind thinks it is. Like, am I doing too much of this? Immediately, that's showing you that there's guilt around it. That's all that's really relevant.
Right.
Okay? That's all that's relevant. So the laying down and going into the fantasies and stuff like that, just noticing that that's not you. That's something that you're viewing. And then whatever it is allowed to be what it is.
Okay.
There's no too much of anything. There can't be too much. There can't be too much or too little. There's only, it's super simple. It's only believing in the thought, or worshiping the thought, it could be called.
Mm-hmm.
When the thought arises and says, am I doing this too much? It's like, is that thought, who is that relevant to? Who would that really be relevant to?
Right, and who does that guilt belong to? Because it does seem like a very guilty thought.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's no one there to hold on to guilt. It's just the believing that the thought holds relevance in the moment that multiplies that guilty consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That belongs to no one. Okay? I see Bob's hand, and I'm guessing that Bob would like to get in on this conversation with us. Okay. You're on, Bob.
Oh yeah, I want to get in on this conversation with Alana. So then you must feel that your fantasies are a waste of time, or it's diverting you from real solid concrete tasks that you're responsible for doing, or you're escaping, or what is it that makes you feel guilty about having these fantasies?
It's just, it makes me feel like I'm being taken away from being present in my surroundings. It feels very much like almost like becoming a hermit, like within my own mind, like isolating myself. And I can even tell when I start having these like fantasy phases, we can call them, I'll look around and I don't feel, and this is again just a thought, I don't feel like I see the world clearly. It almost feels fogged, like the real world. So that's kind of where that worry comes
So
from.
I'd like to say something about that. We don't see the world clearly if we're seeing in separation. Period. Any form of separation, we're not seeing the world clearly. In a world of bodies that die and stuff like that, get diseased and stuff like that, it is like a cloud. It's like a cloud, whether that's fantasy or not. And even with the fantasy, that's also made of thought. So it's just noticing that what's going on. What's going on with that? As far as like sitting in the movie theater watching the movie, it's the same. Whether it's a fantasy that seems to be detached from the world or a fantasy in the world, it's all a fantasy. All the stories we make up are fantasies.
And it's weird to me when I do have these fantasies because they feel so much like real life when I'm having them that it makes me realize that real life is very similar to it because it's just thought in a similar way.
Yes, it's like another dream in the dream. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like you're lucid dreaming, Alana, where you're in a dream, but it seems so real because you're lucid in it. And so that's why it seems like it could be a substitute for reality. So are you doing this as like a buffer from reality because your real life is boring or not so interesting, or you'd rather fantasize about being somewhere else or being with someone else?
I think I can make like my desires, the things that I want, the thoughts that are desires, and make them come to life. I think
So you have certain intentions or dreams or goals or visions that you want to manifest that you visualize in these fantasy experiences?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think it's interesting that all of us do fantasize either. Like my fantasies are very full of love, and it's interesting that some people have very violent fantasies, and so maybe it's this.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either way. It's all what you're feeling in the moment.
Right.
Whether it's you're calling it a fantasy that's not engaged with what you're calling real life, or the other one is all whatever's being felt is being shot into the subconscious mind. It's almost like a slingshot. It's like boom, and it picks it up and runs with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, picks it up and runs away with it and goes, oh yeah, this is all relevant. And it's just not. It doesn't mean anything. It's relative, not relative. It doesn't mean anything about you. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and it could also be used as a device to bring up the illusion of guilt.
Right.
And have that be taken as real. The illusion of guilt, like you're guilty for doing something, like not being present in your life.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, so take a look at that.
Yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah, so just being there, being with it. You can't help but be aware. That's your awareness. So it's just getting hooked by a thought that says you're guilty for doing something. The fantasy is even arising spontaneously. You're not doing that. Yeah.
I'm just choosing to hold on to it.
Do the fantasy. There's no one to do the fantasy. but watching it. All that's happening is watching it. So be that watcher. Be as that watcher, I could say. You actually can't help but be the watcher, but be as that. Meaning whatever thoughts that arise that tell you that you're doing something, just notice that they don't mean anything about you. Hey, sweetie. Always hugging me. Uh-huh.
Hi.
Yeah.
Well, have you experienced any of these fantasies coming to fruition? Do you think any of this is productive in your life, or is it just like wasting your time?
Probably more towards wasting my time, but I think what Hope's saying, it's kind of like that time is going to be wasted either way. It's just like it's happening and it is.
Well, there's no such thing as time. That's the thing. So that's a really irrelevant question. The only way time can be wasted is if it's not used for awakening. Okay? And any experience can be used for awakening. Any experience. Time is an illusion that will go on and on until the full awakening happens. Apparently happens. Like not even it happened. And then the illusion is no more. And there's the fantasies are no more because the reality is like nothing that can be imagined. It's like nothing that I can give you any kind of description that could be descriptive of it. Okay, and every single perception, every single experience is leading toward that, and that's the only reason for time. That's the only reason for time. So thinking in terms of wasting time is guilt. Okay? It's a guilty thought. It does not need to be entertained. Embraced, yes. Acknowledged, yes. But taking it to mean anything, that's not a relevant question. Am I wasting time? Unless the question is saying, am I wasting this moment right now and not seeing that this is a thought? When you ask that question, as soon as you ask that question, you're not wasting time. Let's put it that way. You can't be. Once you ask that question, the wasting time thing is out the window.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guilty speech was very interesting, how it's almost like automatic, the speech that promotes guilt.
Yes. Am I wasting time? That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you're wasting this moment on this thought. Am I wasting time? Is that good?
Yeah.
It does not matter. It does not matter what you're doing on the surface. It does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I find myself repeating so many times because the mind's so forgetful about that, thinking that it actually matters what's happening on the surface, and it doesn't matter. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Alana. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you, Hope.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to get to the crux of this guilt issue, because I see it come up in everyone's issue, polyamory and jealousy and fantasy and all this stuff. It's all this guilt that's like the monkey wrench. And so, but then, she's talking about her fantasies. Well, what about, there's the idea that what's important isn't so much your intention, what you can fantasize, but a deeper inspiration from a divine source that says in the Bible, my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are not your ways, that you can come into an inspiration, a divine inspiration of the vision of your life that's not just circling around in your fantasy. It comes from a divine source where you realize your life's destiny from a spiritual voice. A lot of people hear it. So that's kind of that you can experience that and then augment it with your own thoughts and ideas. That's kind of how what's been given to me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what I experience is just love. Just love. That's it. No destiny, no purpose, nothing like that. Just pure loving whatever is arising. being the space for whatever is arising. That's it. Even
That's
if
it.
it happens
That's what we're.
to be fantasy.
That's right.
Yeah. Even if it happens to be fantasy, it doesn't matter. All the fantasy will work itself out, will play itself out when there's not guilt around it. It's like there's a need for fantasy at a time, and then it plays itself out. There's an apparent need for illusions for a time, and then it plays itself out, and then illusions are no more. Making up stories, there's no more after it's played out, and it's allowed to play it out when the guilt to play itself out when the guilt is just recognized and embraced for what it is. Okay. There's no guilt to try to get rid of or kill or anything like that. All right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love you both.
I love
Thank
you.
you, Alana. Thank you, Hope. I love you.
Love you.
Okay, Arena said Inception. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you'd like to talk with me, please just raise your hand. Oh, there it is. Yay.
Just commenting. All right. Oh. What was that?
What did you mean by that? You wrote Inception.
Oh, it's a movie.
Oh, it's a movie.
It's a movie. Yeah, it's a movie where they go into a dream, and then they dream within the dream, and they dream within another dream, and it's like this, I watched it a number of years ago. I'd really like to see it again, actually, with the new kind of frame of reference that I have.
Okay.
But it's really about like consciousness and this
Right.
like dream within a dream thing, and kind of what Alana was just speaking of with, like, I mean, the whole, like, what we call real life is a dream, right?
Yeah.
But and then fantasy is just like another dream within that dream, and you could just keep going with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Thank
That's
you for
all I was
that.
saying.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Inception. All right. I'm gonna look that one up. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. He's great in it.
Oh, wonderful. That makes it even more fun. Mahalo.
Yeah. Mahalo.
Right, with that hand, lower that one. Susanna?
Yeah.
Yay! Was that you who wrote?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Hey, hang on just a second. What's that?
Kale put in 445.
She did. Yeah. His sister, Kaya, she and I have a little game going where when we see triple digits on the phone, we text each other. She just sent me one at 4:44 on the screen.
It's 4:44.
It was.
It was 4:44.
Okay. So, I'm wanting to escape my addiction to herb. Because of this, a whole bunch of mirrors in others have come up. Now, with this intention, I panicked and started binging on sugar and cheese as well as herb. Help. Isn't that fun? Oh my goodness, it's wonderful. I love this one. Thank you. So basically, the only addiction there is addiction to believing thought. Okay, there's no such thing as an addiction to herb. That's the only thing. In fact, the thought that says my addiction to herb is to cover up addiction to believing in thought.
Ah, yes.
Okay? There's no such thing. It could be said that we're all addicts of believing in thought. You know why it could be said that? Because we perceive ourselves in a world where we're separate. We got so addicted to believing in thought, it's almost like we dug ourselves into a world where it looks like we're separate and we can die and shit like that. so that wanting to escape the addiction to earth, that's only symbolic. That's a symbolic of wanting to escape the addiction to believing in thought.
Yes.
So that's why when you try to cure your addiction on the surface, it brings up a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's like that addiction, that belief in addiction, not even addiction because it's not an addiction, that belief in addiction covers up the underlying addiction. Okay? And so it makes a whole bunch of noise. Now there's a bunch of stuff for you to pay attention to divert your attention away from what's really happening. So,
yes.
So, you know, I guess you could say I'm a really big advocate for letting things be as they are. Letting things just be as they are. That wanting to escape an addiction, that's just a form of seeking. It's a form of seeking, and seeking never ends. And when the seeking that the ego does is on the surface, and it has no end. Okay, there's this idea that I'm going to be a better person when I'm not addicted to herb.
Mm-hmm.
So then a lot of other stuff comes up. And I see how you said now with this intention, I would say hold no intention. Intentions arise spontaneously, and it's just a thought. And here's the thing, the subconscious mind moves automatically to manifest the balance of all feelings that have been impressed upon it. Okay? So when we hold on to this intention, for instance, we are feeling as if we are in the universe and not as if the universe is in us. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So that feeling as if we're in the universe with something to do, the subconscious mind makes more of that. That's a feeling. It's actually a feeling. So what's being asked of us here, I mean that's one way to put it, is just to embrace whatever is. Not having to label it as my addiction. It's like nothing about the story of how many times I've taken a puff of weed. No story about how many times I'm taking a puff of weed. Just being completely present with this puff of weed right now. Just feeling how it feels in the body, the senses, taking it in, feeling it in the senses, feeling how whatever sensation is rising, whatever thought comes about it, letting that sensation be felt. And that's breaking the real addiction. That's breaking that underlying addiction to believing in thought. And that whole addiction to believing in thought is only to try to escape guilt. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So that's why it seems like we can be less guilty if we escape a surface addiction. Somehow be less guilty. So then all these other things start happening to make the guilt go on. There's just nothing to do, that's the thing. That's the whole thing. So how is that landing for you?
Good. Exactly how I needed to.
Can you feel the lightness in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no. This is just another form of judgment. That's all it is. Just another form of judgment. I'm a super big advocate for letting people be as natural as possible. Just being natural. Because there's nowhere to go. There's nothing you can do wrong. All right. So we're complete on that one?
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you too, Susanna. All right, I see no more hands and no more questions, and we got a lovely movie recommendation, Inception. That sounds fun. If anyone else has anything they'd like to talk with me about, please let me know. Other than that, I'll close up by just saying this is sponsored by Miracle Botanicals, our essential oil line. You can go to miraclebotanicals.com. We love essential oils and we love our customers. We love to let everyone find exactly what they're looking for, and we have a great money-back guarantee, and we source the best oils we can find in the world with joy. And I love you very much. Thank you so much. Aloha.